to my vodcast, Spreading the Love. I am your hostess, Lovely. Today it is my privilege to converse with award-winning television journalist and author, Cheryl Wills. Hello, Ms. Wills. So nice to meet you.
Hello.
I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with me.
Hello, Lovely. It is my honor to be with you. You are a phenomenal young lady, and thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. I had an opportunity to read Emma. Where did you draw your inspiration to write the book?
Yeah, what a great question to start with. You know, Emma is based on the true story of my great-great-great-grandmother. She was born around 1850. She was enslaved in Haywood County, Tennessee. And you know, Lovely, I wish I had known about her when I was your age, because we all have ancestors who have lived through really tough times, and their stories are a source of inspiration because they teach us that we could survive anything. So that's why I wrote the book, because I wanted the world to know that people who were enslaved were great people who fought their way out of a very painful situation. And their strength is still in us today.
How was it like to know that that Emma was a slave and then she was unslaved when it was Juneteenth?
Yeah, so another great question. I'm telling you, you impressed me so much. So yeah, she found out in 1865 when the Civil War was over that she was free. She was a teenager at the time. Can you imagine, Lovely, being a teenager going from slavery to freedom? That's mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
Your life is just getting started. You're going through puberty, and then boom, you're hit with this bombshell that your family is no longer enslaved and no more slavery in the United States of America. So Emma made that transition, and I have a lot of her information because, you know, she married a Civil War soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she had to fight for his pension, she put a lot of documents related to his service into his file. So that's how I found her amazing story. And Emma was a strong woman, and I'm so proud to be her granddaughter, and I'm really proud to share her story with the world.
My favorite part of the book was when she kept trying and trying to get the pension and the money for her children. And my favorite part was when the government finally gave her it, and her family could finally have peace and have the money that they need to build their family.
Yes, very good point. And that's my favorite part of the story too, Lovely, because it showed that my grandma Emma was persistent. And that's a lot of what Juneteenth is about: overcoming, never giving up, persistence, and perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
Perseverance meaning no matter what happens, you keep pushing straight ahead. And that was Emma. As you saw in the book, she didn't give up, even though she couldn't read and write, and that wasn't her fault. You know, Lovely, today you go to school every day. I know you are outstanding, but once upon a time, people that looked like you and me were not allowed to go to school. And so that's another key part of this story, right? Emma never gave up her fight for her pension, even though she was forced to be illiterate. She was brilliant in her own way, don't you think?
Yes.
She was brilliant in her own way, but she lived in a country that did not value her. So the message today for me, Juneteenth, means we must value ourselves. We must value our legacy. And for you as a student, I want you to share this with your class. always strive for excellence because we owe that to our ancestors who never had a chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
I noticed that you attended the SI Newhouse School at Syracuse University like my mom.
Yes.
Can you tell me about your experience?
It would be my honor. Like your mom, I am a proud graduate of Syracuse University, one of the best communication schools in the United States of America. And that's where I made my dream come true. You know, lovely, when I was your age, I had dreams of being a journalist. I lived in public housing and I had no idea how I was going to make those dreams come true. But I never gave up on myself. And that's what Juneteenth also means to me, never giving up on your dreams. You know, when you're able to visualize and see what hasn't yet manifested or what hasn't yet come true, that's magical. And if you just continue to move in the right direction, which always means being an excellent student, you will start to see your dreams come closer and closer. So I want you to grab hold of that. You wanted to do this podcast, and look, here you are interviewing an author and television anchor. So your dream just came true, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. What made you want to pursue a career in broadcasting journalism?
Yeah, so I always loved interviewing people. When tell us your age, lovely. How old are you?
11.
You're 11. When I was even younger than you, I would interview all of the people in my family, and they were really fascinating. You know, I interviewed my grandma, who was a great singer and piano player. I interviewed my grandpa. He was the one that left Tennessee, where Emma lived. And yeah, and he said, I want to join all of the other African Americans who are leaving these terrible conditions in the South and moving north. That's called, as you know, the Great Migration, right? When millions and millions of Black people left the South in search of a better life.
Yeah.
And so when I interviewed my grandpa, I learned all about the history that was in my family that was in line with what was in the history books. And sadly, it wasn't in my history book at the time, but I'm glad it's in your history book. Sadly, lovely, they didn't teach us about our own history when I was a kid. So that's another reason why I was inspired to go into broadcast journalism, to answer your question. And that's also why it was really important that I share the story of Emma and my family's journey from Tennessee all the way to New York City.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
I am in awe by the many groundbreaking interviews that you have conducted over the years. How do you prepare for these interviews?
Another great question. So I've had the pleasure and the honor of interviewing some really powerful people. I interviewed the first woman president of an African country. Her name is President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia. One of my dreams was to meet Nelson Mandela, but I never got the chance. But I did get to meet the first woman president and interview her many times. That was mind-blowing because she went through a lot, lovely. You know, she was an activist. She fought back against oppression, similar to Nelson Mandela. And she also went to prison for standing up for what she believed in. And then when civil war broke out in Liberia, she took a stand. She didn't back down. And the people of this historic West African country elected her president. First woman. So that is probably like my biggest interview of all time. I also had the opportunity to interview the head of the United Nations. Do you know what the United Nations is?
No.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about it. So the United Nations is in New York City. It's on the east side of Manhattan. You know where Manhattan is,
Yes.
right? You could see it from Queens. You could see it. It's beautiful. It's right around 42nd Street. And this is the International Center of Diplomacy. It was created shortly after World War II. And this is where the world comes to keep the peace and talk about things happening in the world. And I interviewed the boss there, right? And I also had an opportunity to speak there once. That was a big deal.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
If you could turn back time and talk to your 8-year-old self, what would you say?
I love your questions. I can't wait to see you grow up because you are going to be amazing. So, what would I tell my 8-year-old self? I would say
18.
18. Okay. What would I tell my 18-year-old self graduating from high school with all of these dreams? And I had no idea how it was going to come true. I would say, Cheryl, relax, just keep moving in the direction of your dreams. Don't worry about people who are not in your corner. Don't worry about people who laugh at you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about people who say you can't do it. If you can dream it, Cheryl, you can do it. And that's exactly what happened. I dreamed it, and I am still in the process, thankfully, of doing it. And I want you and all of your classmates to remember that. If you can dream it, you can do it. You have to make sure not to be pulled away. You know what that means, lovely?
Yeah.
Don't be pulled away. Don't say, oh, this dream isn't going to come true. Forget it. I'm just going to do something safe. Don't be safe. Be daring. Do exactly what it is you want to do and never give up. That's what I would tell my 18-year-old self.
Be fearless.
Yes, an even better word, be fearless.
Okay. This is my big question. Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
What is your most notable achievement and why?
What is my most notable achievement and why? You want to know the truth? My most notable achievement in my 55 years is finding my ancestors who were enslaved in Tennessee. Of all the things I've done, being on television, it all pales in comparison because they were lost and hidden not just from me, from my dad, from my grandpa, from my great grandpa, from my great great grandpa, and so many relatives. And I would ask, who are the enslaved people in our family? No one knew. They had disappeared. And I used my journalism skills, lovely, to track them down. And it didn't happen overnight. And no one just handed me the information. This took a lot of work, a lot of time. And now that I found them, it has changed my life. And I'm so glad that's your big, big question, because that's my big, big answer. This was life-changing. And as such, I've been able to touch the lives of people all over the world, from people who were never supposed to be found. You know, it's like, you lovely, you're doing a great job in school, your mom, your family, and you know me and everyone around you. Can you imagine if 100 years from now, no one knew we existed? Yeah, that's what happened to my family. They were literally wiped off the face of the earth. So for me to find them and bring their stories back to life, no matter what happens, nothing is bigger than that.
That's incredible. Keep spreading the love.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart.
What is the most important lesson you've learned in life so far?
The most important lesson I've learned in life so far is to never give up. I know that may sound redundant, but you know what? It's easy to give up. It's hard to keep going sometimes when people don't like you, or when people are mean to you, or when you want something to happen and it's not happening in what you think in the time you think it should happen. It's easy to give up, but it takes real inner power, and you got to dig down deep to keep going in spite of it all. You know what faith means?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me what you think faith means.
Faith means like you're believing and you never give up and you keep going on and having faith.
Exactly right. You nailed it. And that's the same for me. Faith means even when you walk in the darkness, you know that there's light coming. And even when you don't have a roadmap or a GPS or directions, you could just feel that you're moving in the right direction. That's what faith means, right? And so to answer your question, that's my biggest goal. That's what drives me. Just keep having faith, even when you can't see it. You know it's coming.
What is the best piece of advice that you've received?
The best piece of advice that I've received is to always protect everything around me. You know, there's a lot of thieves out there. They want to steal your work. They want to steal your money. They want to steal everything. And I've learned that from this great advice that I've received to make sure I protect what's called intellectual property. And that means protecting your ideas and protecting everything that you've built and protecting your money and making your money grow. So that's the best advice that I've received, because lots of people get what they dream about. The question is, do you protect it and make it grow for the next generation? And so that's been very important to me to learn that. Generational wealth, you will learn this as you get older. You are going to inherit everything your parents had, right? And so then you are going to be responsible for making sure it's protected and it continues to grow. And then you pass that on to your children, right? So that's called generational wealth. And that is very important advice for everyone.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, right?
What challenges and obstacles did you have to overcome, if any?
Oh, there were many. I love that question. Everyone has their own obstacles, and everyone has to deal with their own, personal insecurities and what they are concerned about. So I had to overcome a lot. Like I said, I come from very humble beginnings where people did not have a lot of money, but they did have a lot of love. Your mom and I both went to Syracuse University, but guess what? No one had enough money to get me through. So that was a major obstacle. I was always in the financial aid office. I was always like, oh my God, how am I going to pay for next semester? It was really scary. So that was a big obstacle. And then another obstacle was, how do I break into the business? I don't know anybody. No one could pick up the phone and say, hey, Cheryl wants to be and open the door for her. No one did that. I had to go the hard way and beg and interview and just work hard. So those were obstacles that I had to overcome. And now, thankfully, I have enough resources to do what I have always dreamed of doing. And with my resources, I am bringing honor to my family that was enslaved
Mm.
by writing books, by making, and right now, lovely, the money that I have earned from the books, I didn't keep it. I always saw it, the monies from the book, as Emma's money, as her husband Sandy's money, because guess what? They were not buried properly. They were not buried with a permanent marker or tombstone or headstone or whatever you want to call it. And they were not buried right. They were buried on someone's private property under trees and leaves.
Mm.
So I'm using the money that I've earned from the books to have them reburied with honor.
Mm.
So they will never be forgotten again.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
My main goal for hosting the Spreading the Love vodcast is to inspire and inform the youth about endless possibilities. What advice would you give to my peers and me as we pursue our dreams?
Yes, my biggest piece of advice is to, number one, look into your own family history. Do at your age what I didn't have the opportunity to do. Now, on websites like ancestry.com, you can go online and start to do your own family research and find your own relatives who disappeared just like mine. That's number one. Number two, be the best student you can be. Do not give in to peer pressure. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but, and I want your students to listen very carefully. When you follow the crowd is usually moving in a negative direction.
Mm-hmm.
But when you follow the beat of your own drum, you are on the right path. The crowd will always take you someplace dark and dangerous. But when you move in the direction that your heart and your family and your teachers tell you, you're guaranteed success. And that's a lonely road. Sometimes you won't find many people on that road because everyone wants to act like they're partying and drinking and smoking and vaping, and that's so-called fun, right? Well, let me tell you what happens with drinking and smoking. Number one, you're destroying your liver for when you get older. If you smoke, you're destroying your lungs, and you won't feel it when you're young, but when you get older, you'll be in a hospital somewhere. But no one tells you that when you're 11. They're just playing it off as being cool. So I encourage everyone watching, stay away from all of that stuff. Stay sober, stay focused. And lastly, when I found the records of Emma, and it's in the back of your book,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed because she was not allowed, no fault of her own, because she was not allowed to attend school or be educated in any way, when she had to sign her name, Lovely, on those documents, they wrote Emma Wills. Notice I said they, not she, they.
Uh-huh.
And then they put her mark. And you know what her mark was? An X. My great-great-great-grandmother could not spell EMMA, WILLS. All she could put was an X. Lovely, to this day, that X breaks my heart because both of us can sign our names, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can sign your name in script too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. And it brings tears to my eyes to know that my grandma Emma only knew one letter. And perhaps if you dig into your family tree, you'll find some relatives who also signed with an X. So my message to your fellow students to answer your question directly is to take back the X. Know how we do that? By being excellent. Can you say excellent?
Excellent.
By being extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary. And being exceptional.
Exceptional.
That's my message to you and your students. Be the best you could be in honor of those who were forced to sign with an X.
That's extravagant.
Ah, you gave me another X. Yay. I'm going to add that to my repertoire. Extravagance.
It was such a pleasure speaking with you. I have definitely gained some tips that I will use moving forward. Do you have any questions for me?
I do. What is your dream for your career growing up?
Well, when I grow up, I want to be a pediatrician.
Oh.
And then when you go to be a pediatrician, you're asking the same questions like, how are you? Are you okay? And I'm doing the same thing right now as I'm interviewing. So
you are going to make all of your dreams come true. You are going to go to med school. You are going to be a resident, and you are going to be a pediatrician. I am believing that with you. And you are going to be a journalist. There are lots of journalists who have medical degrees, and everything you put your mind to, I'm telling you, you're going to do it. I believe in you. So it was an honor to speak with you today. Your future is so bright, it burns my eyes.
Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to speak with you.
No problem. Please let my viewers know how they can stay connected with you and how they can purchase your book.
Okay, all of my books are on Amazon. And if you go to my Instagram on social media, you'll see a link tree and it'll take you right to all of my books. And please do follow me on social media at Cheryl Wills NY1.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So guys, make sure you like, follow, and share, and keep spreading the love. Peace, guys.
Peace.